Now, when last we left off, Millicent the wolf had just devised a new stratagem for getting in to the third little pig's house. Actually, it was not a strategy for getting into the house himself, but of getting the little pig out. So he called out, little pig, Farmer Smith has invited me to pick some turnips in his field. Would you care to join me there tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock? They're very, very large and luscious turnips, with great leafy greens and robust peppery crunch. Oh, I know you shall love them enormously. I know pigs. I know pigs very well. They love their turnips. So would you join me? The little pig thought, turnips are nice. Pigs do like turnips, that's true. So, well, yes, Mr. Wolf, I'll join you. 6 o'clock sharp. I'll see you then. Now, some of you may be thinking that the little pig has lost his mind. If he wouldn't let him into his house, why in the world would the little pig go picking turnips? Well, the little pig, like I said, was not an idiot. He was no fool. Early the next morning, at 5 o'clock, he got up and went off to pick turnips before the wolf arrived. And so when Millicent got there, he knocked on the door. Little pig, time to go pick turnips. The little pig said, oh, I've already been and I picked my fill. I was just up early and I went on ahead without you, and you were so right. They are large, luscious, leafy green turnips, very crunchy, very peppery, and quite tasty. And I'm so happy that you invited me, and I'm so sorry that I missed you. But thank you very much all the same. So Millicent said, oh, well, I'll have to try something new. He remembered the orchard. So he said, little pig, Granny Smith's orchard's just a bit further down the way, and the apples are quite ripe. They're lovely and delicious this time of year, tart and crunchy, sweet and juicy. Oh, I know you should love some of those apples. Won't you join me tomorrow, say, at 5? The little pig said, oh, apples. I like apples. Apples are nice. Yes, 5 it is, then. And so Millicent went home, thinking he would catch the little pig this time. Now, when he went home, we must remember the other little pig, the sister, was in his larder, and since he wanted her for a barbecue, he could not afford that she become famished and wan in her appearance. I mean, he wanted a fat little pig, so he made sure she got plenty of cold, grey oatmeal. It wasn't much to her liking, but it was all there was, so she ate it. Well, anyway, the next morning, at 4 a.m., the little pig gets up, and he goes to the orchard to pick apples. Now, most pigs are not really good at climbing trees, so it took our little pig a little while to get up on a limb. Trotters make climbing somewhat difficult. But he got up there, he scrambled up on a low limb, and he was busy picking apples when he noticed that the wolf was coming down the lane toward the gate to the orchard, and he had to think, oh, very quickly, this was not going to be good. This was going to be terrible, a disaster, unless he figured a way out of this. And of course, the wolf came to the gate, and he looked up at the tree, and there was the little pig. He says, oh, good little pig, I thought I'd missed you. I'm so happy to see you there in the tree. Just be still, and I'll come up and join you. The apples do look so lovely. And the little pig thought quickly, and he took an apple from his bag and says, oh, yes, Mr. Wolf, they are quite lovely. You're so right. You should really taste one. Here, catch. And he threw an apple down to the wolf. But he deliberately miscalculated his aim so that it would over the wolf's head and roll through the gate and down the lane. And the wolf, in a moment of instinct, chased the apple down the lane, went after it. And while he was chasing the apple, the little pig jumped out of the tree and ran home just in time. Of course, he took his apples. He was no fool there either. They were good apples. Oh, Wolf was so put out, so Wolf thought a moment, what shall I do? How do I get this little pig out of the house? Then he remembered the fair was in town, so he went to the door. little pig, I'm so sorry I wasn't able to get there in time to pick apples with you, but I've just remembered that the fair is in town, just a little further down the way. I would like it so much if you would join me tomorrow morning at the fair. They have some lovely rides and many fine exhibits and many wonderful games I'm sure we shall enjoy. Would you join me? Would you be so kind as to come with me to the fair? And the little pig said, oh, yes, I would love to go to the fair. What time shall we meet then? And the wolf said, well, since 5 o'clock was too early and 4 o'clock, I'll meet you at 4 o'clock in the morning. Right? Would you go to the fair right then, right away? Be there first thing. And the little pig said, well, 4 o'clock it is then. Well, I'll meet you there. And so the little pig got up early the next morning and went off to the fair at 3 o'clock. And when he got there, he noticed the wolf was quite right. Oh, there were many games, many fine exhibits. And there was a two-headed Siamese cat, and there was a potato that looked like Abraham Lincoln. It was really quite amazing. And so he looked around and he noticed there was this game where you threw a ball and it went through a hoop. And then they had this other game where you threw a ball and you knocked down cartons. Having had some practice with throwing things, he decided to give it a try, to try his trotter at it, as it were. And so he did. He played the game and won a lovely black cauldron. Oh yeah, he was good. He was quite good at it. And this was a large, fine black cauldron. And so he took this black cauldron, and he was headed home. He figured it was about time. It was getting close to the hour. And he headed home. But the wolf too had been thinking, and got up just a little earlier. And he'd gathered a couple of his friends. And the little pig saw them headed up the hill as he was leaving the grounds of the fair. And so he thought, what shall I do? What shall I do? He remembered he had the cauldron. So he crawled in the cauldron and pulled the lid in over his head, and he began to rock back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And he got the cauldron rolling down the hill, straight towards the wolves. Well, the other wolves, having had more practice with the hunt and knowing the tricks of the chase, somewhat better than Millicent, immediately leapt out of the way. But Millicent was too busy figuring how he would take advantage of the situation and capture the little pig, and only at the last moment did he look up and notice that there was this great black lumbering rolling cauldron thing coming toward him, just bouncing down the hill right his way. He had no idea what it was at the moment. He was completely taken by surprise, and he just turned and fled, and the cauldron rolled right after him. Now his wolf friends just howled with delight. It was the funniest thing they had ever seen. Millicent being chased by a big black pot rolling down the hill. They were in hysterics. Of course, the pot kept rolling, bounced over the wolf in its way, and rolled right up to the doorstep of the little brick house. The pig jumped out, grabbed the cauldron, opened the door, popped inside, turned the latch, and was safe. And Millicent, he was just humiliated. This would not do. Enough was enough. He decided a more direct approach. And began looking, studying what he could do. So while he was doing this, while he was trying to figure out how to get to this little pig, well, the little pig got home from the fair. He had a basket of fresh apples, he had a sink full of fresh turnips, and he had this big iron pot. Well, why not give it a try? It was an old-fashioned kind of pot, and his mother had installed these iron brackets and hooks in the fireplace, like for cooking in the olden days. And so on the stove, he did have a very modern arrangement in his kitchen. He had a nice stove, and he began to make a compote of the apples on the stove with the cinnamon and brown sugar. But it took his largest pan to handle all the apples, and there simply wasn't room for the cauldron there. It wouldn't fit well anyway. So he decided to cook his turnips over an open fire in his fireplace from the hooks. Very nostalgic type thing. And so he chopped up the turnips and some onions, and added some water. And well, many people like to add a bit of bacon or pork fat or ham hock to their turnips for flavour. Pigs generally take a dim view of this, and so he added a pat of butter instead, and saying he set the pot on to boil. Well, somewhere about this time, maybe it was the smoke rising from the chimney. Scholars are divided on this point, but that's when the wolf noticed the chimney, and he climbed into the roof, and he decided that's the way in. And so, as quietly as he could, he crept towards the chimney. Unfortunately, wolves, unlike cats, cannot retract their claws, and his little claws clattered on the shale of the roof. The little pig heard it, and when he heard those steps drawing near the chimney, it didn't take him long to figure out what was about to happen, so he took the lid off the pot and set it aside. Now, perhaps the wolf thought that the smoke would be a cover for his entry down the chimney. It'd be unexpected that anyone would come down a fireplace with a burning fire. What he probably did not expect, that a little pig would be cooking in the same manner that his mother's grandmother used to cook, with a cauldron over an open fire. That he probably was not anticipating, and thought if he was quick enough he could get down the chimney and over the fire before any serious harm was done. Unfortunately for him, there was a pot, a cauldron of boiling turnip greens, and within seconds after loosening his grip on the sides and rushing down the chimney, there was this great kapush, and then a clank as the little pig slammed the lid onto the pot. There was a moment or two of thrashing, and then it was still. The wolf was dead, and the little pig had a lovely pot of wolf and turnip stew. We must add at this point, despite the fact that the wolf had not bathed recently, and that cooking a whole undressed wolf, hair and all, is generally considered unappetizing to most people. Pigs are not that particular, even the neatest ones. I mean, food is food, and they don't turn their noses up at it. And so the little pig had a bowl, a rather large bowl, a big cauldron of wolf stew. He did finally remember the next morning to go release his sister from the wolf's larder. She was not happy about having to wait another day and missing a bowl of oatmeal in the bargain. That caused some friction for them for a number of years, but eventually they put it behind them, and she came to live with her brother and share one of the rooms, and they made quite a comfortable life for themselves, and that is the story of the three little pigs.